So a bit of background before I go on about what happened is necessary. I'm 25 female and only child. My relationship with my mother has always been awful. She used to be a model, a very pretty one, but after I was born she was never able to lose a weight, which ended up with her blaming me for ruining her. She made sure during my whole life that I would see myself as the ugliest person alive, which obviously led to multiple severe eating disorders and body dysmorphia. It also led to some more serious problems, and I was hospitalized many times. I stay away from her as much as possible, but I'm still in contact due to my dad. My relationship with my dad is good. Because of all of that, when I met my now fiancé, 25 male, I will call him Gabriel, I was in disbelief that he was attracted to me. He's a very good looking man, and although he would call me pretty at every single possibility, I am just now, after 3 years together, believing him. He has been an essential part of my healing journey, and I'm so grateful for having him in my life. The drama started last week, at dinner. Mine and my fiance's family were having dinner together, and we were all talking about our wedding plans. We decided to talk about old happy memories, when my mother told my fiance, out of the blue, that I still don't know why such a good-looking man like yourself is settling down for that, with an emphasis on that, while giving me the look that one would only get from a high school mean girl. She then laughed very nonchalantly and continued her drink, and the table went dead quiet. Gabriel's mom immediately confronted my mother, who answered, "What? She's too ugly for him. You should be concerned too." It was like I was a teenager again. It felt like all the hard work that I put on healing suddenly did not matter. I broke down immediately, and before I stormed out, I just told her, "Don't you dare showing up at my wedding." In the last week, I got comforted by Gabriel and his family and talked to my dad about what happened. He told me that he understood why I uninvited her, but to reconsider, because she was drunk and I'm her only child. I know she was drunk, but it still hurt like a witch. It's something that she totally meant because it is not the first time that she talks about me like that. She has not apologized, but sent some messages about how I was overreacting, how I was going to regret not having my own mother at my wedding. Gabriel and his family are on my side, and his parents, specifically my future mother-in-law, have become very overprotective of me, saying that I can call them mom and dad. I do feel, however, sad for my dad who has to put up with all of that, and I'm afraid to regret my decision. Am I overreacting? Am I in the wrong here? And now with some comments on the post. You are so not in the wrong. Not only was she grossly rude to you, now she's trying to dismiss your feelings completely. I will consider going no contact. You are not in the wrong. She doesn't act like a mother, and from the sound of it, what you regret is having her ruin your wedding. You know she'll do it, the bitter old hag. Tell your dad that he can come, but if mom shows up, security will show her out. Take pride in your looks and comfort in your new family. You deserve it. Best of luck. You're not in the wrong. Your mother is a jerk, and so is your father for staying with her while she abused his own daughter. I, 26 male, had to file a restraining order against a longtime family friend of my parents. It is a long story, so I'll just keep the relevant information. This was a lady who had worked with my mother in the mid-90s at a hospital. She would occasionally babysit my siblings and I, but even being that young, I knew something was off about her. She has multiple mental illnesses. My mother is a clinical psychologist and always told me she was fine, just a little scrambled. The older I got, the more I realized she'd only pop up when she needed something. She's an empathy-less narcissist and likely had schizophrenia. For the past 5 to 10-ish years, she's been essentially off the grid. Flash forward to about a year ago, she began requesting all of my family, parents, cousins, uncles, and so on all kinds of social media, calling my parents repeatedly even though they clearly do not want to speak with her. About 2 months ago, she started doing the same to me and my family, wife and a newborn. I also feel it's important to note that my immediate family physically does not have time to enable these kinds of people. My parents seem to be the only ones on either side of the family whose lives are in complete crap, and quite frankly, we are tired of being stepped on because we are the well-off family. About a week ago, I got a call from my parents saying she just showed up at their house unannounced and was seen peeking in doors and windows on the ring. She then came to my house unannounced, where my wife was home with our newborn and attempted to get inside. Bless my wife for turning that down. I got yet another call from her yesterday on my work phone. I have no idea how she found that number, and that was the final straw. I compiled all of my evidence and went to the Court of Common Pleas to file a type of restraining order, good for 5 years. I know this is a long-time family friend, but I still end up just feeling guilty. My parents are getting older now, and I'm not gonna dig into their past, but have already done so much for so many people that have just come back to bite them. I whiz myself fresh into the corporate world with a new house, new kid, new wife. I just don't have the time either. Plus my siblings are either just starting out their own adult lives or live out of state already. I simply won't enable people who refuse to let themselves get proper help. So Reddit, am I the jerk? And now some comments on the post. You're not in the wrong. You absolutely have a right to keep yourself and your family safe. You're not in the wrong. This family friend is just plain creepy with a stalker-ish behavior. Her mental illness doesn't justify her stalking you or your family. You felt unsafe for you and your family. So don't feel bad for protecting them, because if it continued she would have probably done something more extreme, so a restraining order is a good thing just in case she does something. Completely not in the wrong. You are protecting your family. This woman has never been your friend, and you have no obligation to maintain whatever relationship your parents were okay having with her. For your mom being a clinical psychologist, she doesn't seem to have any understanding of the gift of fear. Each person's way of recognizing when a situation is dangerous for them. Continue to protect your family and yourself from this person. So, I'm 22-year-old female. My boyfriend 24 has this friend 25 female who moved in 4 months ago because she had nowhere to go. Now I didn't mind having her as long as she respects our boundaries and the rules around the house, but that's definitely not it. She is very loud, comments on everything, and just does inappropriate stuff in general, and excuses it for being a Latina. And that's just how they are. She doesn't help at all besides maybe cooking sometimes, but doesn't clean up the mess she makes, and she invites people over whenever she wants. She changes in the living room in front of us, and I asked her to change in her room, but her excuse is that she was trying to feel like home, and then she suggested I should too, as it will prove my self-confidence. I talked to my boyfriend about how I'm kinda uncomfortable with this whole situation, and he told me not to overthink about it, that she's just very unbothered and cool. She always interrupted our time together, and would sit between me and him during a movie, or take my space while I take a toilet break, and she cuddles him in the most unfriendly way, and when I asked jokingly if she was trying to take my man, she would excuse it on her ethnicity and that's how they grew up, so I knew I had to ruin this Friday night they had for them. I went up to them and she was all over him as usual. I called my boyfriend, and when he was about to get up, she said how it was their favorite part, that he could leave later. I insisted, but she kept pulling him, so I went and pulled him to our room. Discussed how what she's doing is really upsetting, and I no longer want her living with us. And he agreed I had the right. But that she has nowhere to go. That I'll have to wait until she finds a job, which she's not even trying to get. While talking, she came and tried to open the door, which was locked. So she started knocking, and we just ignored her until it got louder and he asked her to leave, but she got even louder and then started saying how I ruined the only time she gets with him, which obviously is not the case. I had enough at this point, but my boyfriend suggested he talks to her first, so he went and they took too long, like almost 2 hours, and I went to check on them and heard her telling him he shouldn't accept someone who ruins a friendship as a partner. And that is a big red flag and that he should kick me out. But this place is actually my property that I inherited from my aunt. And at that point, I knew I had to kick her out. I didn't even ask what conclusion they came up with, and waited in the living room until they came out. And I just told her to look for another place, and gave her 2 weeks max. She's been crying since yesterday, refusing to eat and not coming out of the room, and my boyfriend is saying that I went overboard, and then I just hit a sensitive spot of hers, basically telling her to leave when she has no family or anywhere to go. So, am I in the wrong? You are not in the wrong. You should kick your boyfriend out too, since he has no respect for you. They are both freeloading off of you and disrespectful as hell. Start the eviction proceedings. You're not in the wrong. She's a Latina with no familia, lies and nonsense. Hispanic communities are very inclusive. They do not suffer fools though. If she's not welcomed by them, it's because she's done this before many times. Kick them both out. If she hasn't already taken your man, she is trying to. I wouldn't think a man who disrespects you enough to cuddle another woman on your couch in your home would be worth fighting for. Good luck. Update. Thank you everyone for the advice and helping me open an eye on the real issue. It was past midnight when I posted that, and my life literally took a 180 in less than 24 hours. The comments were like a slap in the face I really needed. Apparently I was too blind. Yeah, I guess my boyfriend isn't who I thought he was. He has been trying to give her food, tried to calm her down, and literally took a day off from college and work. He goes on Sundays too, which he never did for me. And he never even get days off from his classes unless really necessary with proof. It's nursing. I don't know how he managed to get a day off. I really wanted to make sure it is what it looks like before deciding my next move. I prepared lunch way before time and asked him if he was around for lunch. And his response, I'm trying to get her to have breakfast, and you're talking about lunch? You're becoming unrecognizable. Yeah, I didn't know what to reply, so I just asked him again. But he said we can have lunch together if she's willing to join us, as it's rude if we eat without her. And at this point I had had enough. I invited my guy friend over, who he doesn't like, and I explained to him our situation and just asked him to be comfortable. My boyfriend never realized someone was over until he came to take food, and he saw us having lunch together. And he just gave me a look, said hi. I was going to take some for themselves until he realized it was a creamy rice casserole, which his friend doesn't like, and yeah, I did that on purpose. And yeah, chicken roast with some sides. And he literally glared at me and said, you know she doesn't eat that. And I just replied, well, it's not her who I made this for. Then he threw the plate, started shouting, asking what was wrong with me, and that he wishes he never dated me. It was so scary my friend got involved. They got aggressive and I just asked him to leave with his other girlfriend. There is no legal action required for someone you haven't signed papers with where I live. They were just guests. I packed his things for him, which aren't a lot, and left it by the front door. He came crying and apologizing and acknowledging what he did was wrong, and just other nonsense I didn't want to hear because the damage was already done. My friend was of great support, and he dealt with everything else as I cried my eyes out in my room. And that sums up how I went through my first heartbreak, and it was my first relationship. I'm changing the locks tomorrow morning and we're ordering fried chicken, apparently a proven heartbreak remedy by my friend. And although her excuse was bringing up her race, I know better than that. Thank you for all the support.